What's up, everybody? It's Gary V, and this is the Sports Card Strategy Show, because you know this, there is no off-season.
No off-season! When you get into this game, the reason why you pay someone like Paul Hickey to get your sports card strategy together is because when you're starting out, you need perspective, you need wisdom, you need insights. And so he's been around the track enough times where he can actually coach you up and guide you. Doesn't mean he's going to take you to the promised land tomorrow, but you now have a coach by your side that can advise and kind of even create these pathways where you can get the education yourself. And that's a lot better than thugging it out on your own.
What? The kids better buy my rookie card now, because after this year, the price ain't coming down.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm your host, Paul Hickey. It's time to sit back, listen, learn, and earn with me on the Sports Card Strategy Show. Welcome in, everybody, to the place where we give you data-driven sports card investing. The Sports Card Strategy Show, brought to you by NoOffSeason.com. It's going to be an amazing show, and I do know at least one person, Terry Anderson, that's going to be very happy that we're actually live again. It is exciting to be live once again. We've got Lefty McKee, and we have a very special guest on today's show, George Crespbow. We're going to talk about success stories, key sports cards that survived the 2021 sports card market crash, and some takeaways from that. Was I right about my Jayden Daniels card price crash prediction? And now we've got his injury on top of that as well. Which retired NFL players are the best buys? And then we'll go through August 2025 eBay search data. But first, let's welcome in our special guest here. George Crespbow is a premium member of NoOffSeason.com. Many of you may remember that Lefty and I put something up at NoOffSeason.com for premium members several months ago where you could redeem your member points to host a live episode with us. Kudos to George. George went above and beyond to make this happen, and he stuck in there with me through some scheduling stuff to make sure that this happened. So, George, super grateful to have you on the show today. Appreciate all your support. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. And hey, the scheduling was probably equally my fault as much as y'all's too. So don't even worry about that. No, very excited to be here. Super big fan. Like I said, the first time I talked to you, I'm a big fan of Lefty McKee too. So kind of fanboying out right now on the podcast. So excited to be here. Definitely. When I saw that you had that opportunity to host a podcast, I wasn't going to sleep on it too long.
You're the man. We appreciate that. So I know Lefty and I are pumped to get to know you a little bit more, and the audience is intrigued for sure as to what value you're going to bring to today's show. I know what value you're going to bring to today's show. I know the audience is intrigued. Lefty, I'm going to put you on the spot, brother. You asked George the first question here because I know you've been curious about this.
Yeah, George. I want to know how you got here, man. Like you're an interesting story. I know a little bit of it, but I'd love to hear your story on basically how you got to the Sports Card Strategy Show. We are equally just as fanboying with you as well, as we're saying, like, these are our family. We love building a network here that feels really involved and communal. And we love that your story is one of great success. So I'd love for you to share that a little bit.
Of course. I'll make it short and quick. So I've been in the hobby, loved the hobby my whole life. Collected sports cards, Pokemon when I was younger. Really focused on the sports cards. Then got away from it and really focused on memorabilia, as y'all can see. I'm really
Looks great, by the way.
Thank you. This is like not even 1/5 of it. My girlfriend's made me consolidate a lot of it. So memorabilia was my thing for the longest time. I've been very successful in all of my business endeavors. Praise the Lord for that. And when I came out here to California, I really started getting into heavy on the memorabilia part. And I was at a shop one day, and the shop let me know, he was like, "Hey, I'm not sure if you know about trading cards, but let me kind of go into it." And then he told me that he was opening up breaking, and that he was doing this thing on sites, on whatnot, and as well as his Instagram. And then I kind of went into trading cards. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I can throw in $500, maybe win a $10,000 card. That's great. But as many people know, that's not really how it is. You don't, every single time you put in $500, you're not going to get anything back. And one of the problems was when I was first getting into the hobby, these breakers and everyone was really kind of tricking me, you know, ripping open a pack from 2020, like 2020 was that Wander Franco's year. Like, yeah, pulling a Wander Franco card and being like still hyped about it. And me thinking, oh, I'm still getting, you know, a cool card out of it.
Yeah.
Within a short time, it was like a 4-month time spree. Spent over $572,000 on breaks. I literally had breakers messaging me saying, hey man, just got new cases. If you want, I'll give you a $30,000 line of credit. I got this many cases available, this product, this product, this product. So I had 3 different breakers. I'm not going to mention their names, but was offering me over $20,000 lines of credit every single week. So it was easy. You know, I go in there, rip a bunch of products, send them the money afterwards. So it was fun. But I wasn't really getting any return off of it. And then I first saw some joke guy named Eric talk about being strategic with sports cards. And then I found Paul. And then I was like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy actually makes sense in what he's doing. There's actually a strategy behind it. And then it completely turned everything around. Everything started clicking on actually how people make money in this, how this hobby actually makes sense. And I got my why out of this too. It wasn't just to chase a rush, but it's actually to build something that my family can be involved in and that I can actually bring in other people into this hobby that's good in there. It's putting good out there in the world, so to speak. I love this strategy too, because it really helps out local card shops too. It doesn't take away from anyone else's little niche in the hobby. And that's a great part about it. I've been now with Paul for, I think, a little bit over a year or coming up on a year. With his strategy, I built up a little team of people that are homing through eBay constantly, and numerous other different sites. And I went from spending $572,000 just in breaks every single month to this year, we're going to be probably profiting right around $200,000. And
That's incredible.
Buying raw cards, sending them off to PSA, getting them graded, and going in there. Now, luckily, I've been blessed. I have a little bit larger of a bankroll than a lot of other people to get into this hobby. So I'm going after, $10,000 cards all the time. But yeah, no, it's been absolutely a roller coaster, and the highs are unbelievable thanks to Paul and y'all.
Man, congratulations, George. I mean, I appreciate the love, and certainly like it makes me feel like, and I know Lefty too, like he and I started and there was like 2 people watching and listening to us, Greeny Green and somebody else. But it feels humbling to have you say this. And at the same time, like you're the one that's killing it, and now we're trying to be you. Like you definitely, you were telling Lefty and I off the air before the show a little bit of like how the sausage is made. And, I know that our audience is going to want to know more. So I'll give you a little bit more of a microphone here. Why don't you, whatever you feel comfortable sharing with us, you've already given the props to nooffseason.com, which I appreciate, but you've definitely taken it to another level, which I think a lot of people, I know for a fact, a lot of people aspire to, because I get these kinds of questions. So anything you want to share about just kind of what you're doing behind the scenes to basically use our strategies and our rankings and different things but you mentioned to me off the air, it is a grind, right? I mean, like you part of the reason why you've had success is like, yes, you've used nooffseason.com, but you've also done a good job in the grind. Just talk about that to whatever extent you want.
Of course. I mean, once again, I give all the praise to y'all. When I got into the premium, I also signed up for that one-on-one that you had last year as well. So I had a couple one-on-one meetings, so I was able to actually break down your strategy on how you go after cards, and I was really kind of able to expand on that. But nothing I did was reinventing the wheel here, guys. I took what I've heard other people sort of done, and then I just kind of expanded on it. I know people have assistants that help them look through eBay to find raw cards. So I went to the Philippines. I can get a worker for $3.50 an hour. And that's actually a higher pay for a lot of them. And a lot of my guys, I actually give bonuses to every single month too. So they're a little bit more invested into it. And they know what, their opportunities are at the end of the day of what they can get. So I went to the Philippines. I've now hired a total of 9 people that go through eBay every single day, looking through sports cards, Pokemon cards, and we've even now gotten into One Piece, specifically because Netflix is going to be dropping the new One Piece season next year. So we're ramping up a small little inventory. I'm not investing a bunch of money into it, but something small. So then right when the Netflix starts doing all their promotions, we're going to ride that wave. Who knows if that will pay off though? That's just skepticism. But yeah, that's what I did. I just went in there, got some Filipino workers. And then I also hired someone. If I did not do this, and I would be using Paul 100% to have all my cards graded. It's a no-brainer to do that. But I did bring in someone in-house. I trained them up. I actually got lucky. I made some connections over at PSA. So I got her actually on a one-on-one phone call with one of their graders and was able to get some good insight of what they're looking for on a daily basis for the card. So we're actually averaging around for PSA 10. So not every card we're going after, we're looking for is a PSA 10, like in Paul strategies, different cards are going to give you different things. So it's all depending on what you're really looking for. But we're averaging around a 90% grade accuracy when we're submitting in a grade. So if we think a grade is going to get a very good 3 for a 1956 Jackie Robinson card, we're probably going to get a 3 on that, or maybe a 2.5. And then on PSA 10s, I just checked it. She's actually averaging around a 78% accuracy on us submitting on what we think will be awesome. A PSA 10. So yeah, having that in there, having an expert like Paul being able to evaluate your cards using his AI scanner to see the centering on it and all those things play a big difference. And I highly recommend y'all using them because all these little things help edge your profitability, because you're always going to lose something on, let's say, 60% of these. The 40% that you're buying are what's going to give you that big bang. But if you can still buy cards that look great on eBay, I mean, there's a ton of cards that I'm buying raw that I'm then reselling on eBay that I'm actually making a little bit of money off of. Like, it's selling for $5 more than what it originally sold for. Now, I'm not making money, but it's cutting down on some of those losses. And having all of these things that Paul has is really going to help with that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because my question to you was going to be, what do you do with the cards that you don't grade? And you nailed that. I mean, like, I can second that too. Like, I've gotten a lot better. I used to be horrible because I mean, a lot of you guys have listened to me for a long time. You've listened to Lefty and I for a long time. And Lefty, you remember, like, back in 2022, 2023, I used to grade everything. Yeah. I used to say, and I used to tell people to grade everything. Well, I didn't necessarily tell people to grade everything, but I did say I grade everything. And then if somebody asked me specifically what to do, 9 times out of 10, I probably would tell them to grade it. And the reason why was because at the time, I didn't want to have the hassle of dealing with an unhappy customer on eBay. And at the time in my life, I didn't feel like I had the bandwidth to deal with those sort of things. But to George's point, I have had the same success that he's had with just simply reselling the raw card if it doesn't meet my standards, or sometimes even cracking out something that didn't get the grade that I want and selling it raw again. And I know there's mixed views on that, but I've come out on this. I'm on the record as saying, like, I don't have a problem with that. But Lefty, what do you think about, everything George said there? Because there's a lot of hard work going into that, and a lot that I know our audience aspires to.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, just props to George for taking, every opportunity you can to succeed in the hobby, and having so many strategies. I mean, without you unrolling everything about it, you can tell how your entrepreneurial experience is also benefiting you in this hobby as well. And being an investor in this has helped by your previous experience. And I think that's super awesome to see how you have all these things that you've built in life that you've gone through and been able to like learn from different avenues that I don't even know you have, but I know that you're putting them together with your success here. And being able to mitigate risk is something that we've talked about so much, and how like we open the book on how much of a success, like we're not hitting 90% of gems here, like we're breaking even a lot of the times and taking losses very few times, but so that the 40%, I think, is the stat you used, George, of saying 40% of those are going to carry the bulk of your profit going forward. And I think that's just so easy to not have perspective of in this, because when you're losing 60% of the time, you're just like, or maybe breaking even 60% of the time, you're just like, oh my God, this is horrible. But I just would like to remind us that we all are a fan of multiple sports where the shooting and hitting percentage and all this kind of stuff are around 40%. Like a 400 hitter, a 40% hitter, if you will, is the best in baseball, and so it's like we are comfortable with those numbers when we are articulating it as a professional athlete or a jump shooter or something like that. 40% is out of this world, and so 40% for us for a win is also out of this world. And we're also looking for that to be incredible experience, to not only break away 100% of the time, but being able to look for that margin that's able to make a win where you can make it, and putting those dollars, even if you said it was like $5, back, that's really critical for the next investment you make.
Yeah, I think George also made an interesting point about targeting cards more in the 5 figures. And I just curious to have a quick discussion around this, because to me, that's almost as hard, if not harder, to flip and make profit on those cards than it is on the $50, $100, $150 cards. So I feel like on one hand, you're putting yourself in a position where, depending on what the play is, if the play is a raw to grade, then I tend to think you're probably in a pretty decent position, because if you're buying it raw at a level like that, then the grading it will give you upside. But even if you don't get the grade you want, you're going to get it turned around faster, because you're probably submitting at a higher service level. At the higher service level, you can basically say, I don't want it slabbed if it doesn't meet this criteria. So you can get it back, and then you still have a 5-figure card on your hands, which is that's different than if you're trying to buy a $50 card, get it graded to get, say, $500 upside or $300 upside. And then if it comes back a 9, you're right back where you started, that kind of a thing. On the other hand, like if you're not grading a $10,000 plus card, sometimes I wonder what the play is. So George, just kind of like, if you can speak to kind of your experience at that level, because I think, and the reason I want to ask you this is because what I've seen from people in the past that buy into these types of cards is they assume that it's just going to go up in value because it's so expensive right now. But there's many other factors you have to look at. So what factors do you look at when you're making determinations of what to buy for what reasons at that level?
So you're absolutely right. When I first got into this, I thought any card, any green kaboom, any, Black Pandora downtown is going to be worth the investment. They're definitely not. The big things I look for is I call it the GOAT status. Are you a GOAT in your sport? Steph Curry, LeBron James, those cards aren't going down. Those guys also have an crazy great PR marketing team. So like you're going to be, safer on those ones. So when it comes to buying graded cards, I'm looking for that GOAT status, making sure these players could go out, punch a baby in the face, and then tomorrow be able to say, I'm sorry, guys, like, hey, and then their card prices not really fluctuate because of it. So that's when it comes to the graded ones. When it's ungraded, first off, a real big rule of thumb here that I make sure to do is when I'm factoring in my profitability and I'm buying in something, I'm expecting to send it into PSA possibly up to 3 times.
I like that.
And the reason for that is because I've sent in a card that's got in a PSA 6, resubmitted it again, and it got a PSA 10. And I'm not going to risk out on thousands of dollars on profit over a couple $100. So I make sure that every single card has an additional about like $600 wiggle room if it's over $5,000 for me to be able to submit it in 3 times.
Nice.
And that's because, the submitting fee is going in there. But really, it's that GOAT status. And then rookies. Which rookie just is making a name and is in there coming up in like their 3rd year. So I've refocused a lot of my stuff. I called Paul and sent him probably some pretty dramatic emails when Victor Wembanyama got hurt, because I hit him up. I was like, man, I just bought 90 of these silvers. What do I do now? And he was like, hey, buy some more when the summer comes up. They're probably going to drop again. And I did throw in some low ball offers and got some more of those. But looking for the people that are hurt, that have their little down swings, that I'm like, okay, someone like Ja Morant, everyone in the hobby loves him. Really, all he needs to do is perform at a high level and his team do well, and then his numbers should go back up. You avoid people like Zion's that have a lot of bad publicity behind it. But when you were going after year 5 for this year, I just went after people that are indestructible in the hobby, that I know that aren't going to have a downturn. And then also Santa Claus cards.
Come on.
I can't Santa Claus downtown cards. Oh my God. Those things have been crazy for me. And any Santa Claus card, the Don Russ ones from back in the day, those things, people love them. They go up in value. I bought 7 of those downtown Santa Claus ones, PSA 7 through 10 last year. And my 10 I got for $1,200. It's now a $4,500 card. So yeah, Santa Claus, he's a GOAT. He's not going to go anywhere.
Santa Claus can't punch a baby.
Out of yeah. Lefty said Santa Claus can't punch a baby. George says Santa Claus is a GOAT. Couldn't agree more. Phenomenal stuff. I knew George was going to kill it on the Sports Card Strategy Show. When I got his order, I was excited because, like I said, we had already talked, and we're off to a good start here, everybody. So let's give some other people from the Discord some love here. For those of you that don't know, we do have a premium member Discord. It is doing very well. The way that you get into that is you have to be a nooffseason.com premium member, and then all premium members earn member points. They can determine hey, I want to be like George Crespbow and I want to jump on a Sports Card Strategy Show live episode with Paul and Lefty. Takes a little bit more member points to do that, or I can join the Discord. And so a lot of phenomenal people are winning on the Discord as well. So John Urick got a couple of cards graded through the eBay PSA at checkout, and gave us a little love on the Discord for talking about it on the pod. He got a Justin Fields rookie optic downtown PSA 10 and a Bo Nix 2024 select Dragon Scale Prism got a PSA 10. So congrats to John for the win there. Couple other wins. Our guy Terry Anderson bought a Shohei Ohtani 2018 Topps Chrome Refractor PSA 10 pitching, and he bought it for $605 back in January when Lefty and I did a gauntlet, and he doesn't plan on selling it, but it's gone up a good amount since then. So congratulations to Terry Anderson. And then Zach Ellsworth, another loyal premium member, got a LeBron James jersey number this is how he listed it. LeBron James jersey number Luka Doncic 2022 Optic Gold Wave PSA 10. And it was a big win for him because he bought it at a card show July 18th for $1,000, listed it in a bin OBO. For those of you that don't know, buy it now or best offer for $1,999, thinking he'd end up auctioning it at the start of the season, but he sold it on August 9th when someone just smashed the button. That's actually, guys, I wanted to bring that up too and kind of ask both of you. That's actually something I've gotten a lot better at. Lefty remembers when I wasn't so patient, right? I used to come on the show and be like, I have no patience. I'm auctioning everything off. I've gotten a lot better, and I think it's because of my 5. George mentioned my 5. I think what I wanted to do is I wanted to narrow my focus. I wanted to be more selective. George is talking about he's gotten better at that too. It's put me in a position where I can be more patient on the selling side and do what Zach did, which is list things in a buy it now or best offer Do I still get nervous from time to time that maybe I have it listed too high and I'm going to miss out on some kind of opportunity? Sure. Like I still, but I think that's good, right? I think you need to question. We probably should be questioning ourselves almost daily to be like, hey, should I flip this to an auction? Should I keep it listed to buy it now? Should I lower the price? What should I do so that I don't miss some kind of an opportunity with this card? I've had more success like Zach, but I still kind of look at it every day. George has other people helping him look at it every day, but I know he's got the philosophy to it too. So we'll go George and then Lefty. George, so how do you think about when you buy a card? Do you have a process for what card you're going to auction off versus what card you're going to list and to buy it now on eBay? And do you determine like a status marker for when you need to flip that buy it now to an auction? How do you think about that?
It all comes down to profitability. What do you have the most wiggle room on? If I know I have a little bit of, little less wiggle room, it's going to be buy it now. Those things that I know I can't risk. And then the auctions is what I have the room for. And then, follow your strategy on the auctions. Only auction during, their sports season. Wait till the playoffs if you think the players are going to make the playoffs. And buy during the downtimes.
Love that. Lefty, what about you? How are you thinking through this right now? I know because we're in the middle of the NFL season, basically. Yeah. Baseball's still going. So I know a lot of people are thinking about, do I move out of certain baseball players? Are there players that you would recommend? I mean, first of all, how do you think about it? But then are there examples of players that you'd recommend from a baseball, football standpoint? Because I agree with everything George said. It's like, okay, if I've got a Wemby, and I get an offer on it now and it's going to make me profit, like why would I decline that offer and try to auction it off in October kind of a thing? But how do you think through all of this from all the sports that you follow? Because I think between you and I, you definitely are invested in more sports. So I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, I think I throw, so you guys know this. I've been very transparent about I use the PSA vault for almost everything. And so most of my cards are graded at this point. And I know some of them are longer term holds than others. And I am waiting for quote unquote cycles to go through. But I am listing. It's very easy to list a card, buy it now on your vault. So I list it at a price that and it's very easy to, it shows you when you list your price or when you are typing it in, it shows you, okay, after fees, this is how much you're going to come out with. It's so easy that it's like, okay, the number that I need to have for it to be a buy it now opportunity for somebody to bin that right then, this needs to have this dollar amount for me to be okay with that. And then I just list it. And it, like, if it's sitting in my vault and it's listed, it's still sitting in my vault. And if they pay me for what I want to pay for it, what I want them to pay for me, then that's still a win for me too, And so I list everything I own. I literally have every card in my vault. Buy it now at some price that I'm comfortable with. So some of them are way over what I know that they're going for right now, and I'm okay with that because that for me says that I'm okay to hold that to another selling cycle or to a different selling cycle. But I think having a price tag on a card is still good, because somebody can look at that card and offer you something for it if they want to. And, every once in a while, some of those are getting purchased as well. So,
yeah, and George is nodding his head as well. And I think the three of us are definitely in agreement on like, hey, you got it, list it. Why not? Do your homework around what you should be listing it for. And you can always switch it to an auction, whether you're using the PSA vault or your own eBay account. And, one thing like we've had recently, a lot of questions on the premium pod about what should I do with this card? Right. Then because there's a lot of new members. So a lot of new members who are still going through sports card school, still learning the stuff that the three of us have already learned. And so what that means is like a lot of people unfortunately have a lot of junk cards, right? They have, we're talking like Dale Murphy, non-rookie tops. Like we're talking Barry Bonds, non-rookie, like people going through and being like, here's an Emmitt Smith, a Ken Griffey Jr., but they're 3-4 years in and it's a base card, that kind of thing. So for those types of cards, I mean, honestly, it's like no disrespect to anyone, but you should probably just auction those off at 99 cents. And you should probably do it 7 to 10 day auction. starting and ending between 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern time. And really the strategy there, everybody, is get what you can for those cards, unless you have some sort of emotional attachment to them. And then of course it's better to just keep them as a keepsake, but get what you can for them, because if you have a bunch of them from your childhood, you don't know, your 10,000 cards, you might get $1,000 for it over the next 10 months. That way you're building up your eBay account. You're practicing and getting the muscle memory down for shipping and providing a good customer experience. And you can turn your $1,000 into something from our sports card rankings, or George mentioned the top auctions, and that sort of thing at nooffseason.com. So, if you're not at the level that we're talking about yet, like, don't worry about that. You'll get there. I mean, I was where you were. If you're feeling what I'm saying right now, I was where you were not too long ago. Now, one thing I did want to bring up is, because it kind of goes along with what we're saying, I did at the National pick up several cards. And because I was so specific in my focus of Michael Jordan, Caitlin Clark, Shohei Ohtani, Victor Wembanyama, and Arch Manning at the National back in July, I was able to really think through every decision I made. And George made this point earlier, sometimes you don't get the grade that you want on a card, and then you still make money on it. So Michael Jordan, 1997 Fleer Decade of Excellence, SGC 9.5. The reason I bought it is because there's huge upside in a BGS 9.5. I thought it was going to get a BGS 9.5. It got a BGS 9. I bought that card for $100. I sold it for $177 after fees. So that's $77 profit, 77% ROI. So trying to piece those kinds of things together is really something new to me this past year. I wasn't into the GOAT status cards that George talked about, but I want to get into more Steph Curry's, more LeBron James's. I've talked about that in previous episodes. So Lefty, I know you have a topic that you want to bring up, but I got a question for you first, because you talked about your PSA vault.
Yeah.
On last week's episode, I talked about this new PSA feature that I love. Have you got a grade reveal back yet online recently? In the last couple of weeks?
Yes.
Okay. So have you had offers? Yeah. Talk about that.
The instant offers. So I had a grade submission pop last week, and it was a 30 card submission, a bunch of stuff that I just kind of have had laying around. Basically, I've had, Paul has talked about the 1+ that he has. I had about 30 of those. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to put all these random cards that I have sitting on my desk into one submission. And the grades popped, and immediately I was getting offers on most of them. They didn't offer on every single one of them, but I would say 70% of these, they had offers because there were comps available on them. I sold 7 of the 30 before they ever even got a chance to even think about buying them. I was just hammering that buy button because I knew that they were a good price for me, and I knew that it was a low hassle money transaction. I mean, low hassle money transactions are sometimes better than receiving top dollar for something if it's going to take you 4 hours of negotiations. We used to talk about where Paul would not sell cards off of anywhere but eBay because he didn't want to get a higher dollar amount from someone on Facebook because he didn't want the hassle of having to negotiate with them. And I think that goes back to this same thing of okay, I can have a card for a month longer and maybe get, $20 extra for it or something like that. Or I can get the money now, wear the profit margin that I need, and we're going to get out of there. I have a small conspiracy on this that I'm sure you'll just love, Paul. I know that just me saying that makes your skin crawl a little bit. But the conspiracy that I have is some of the cards I have in my vault, I've gone in and added, instead of having a spreadsheet somewhere else, I've added my cost in the PSA thing, and I haven't had one of those offer me more than the cost I have on there. So I'm going to start removing my cost and see if they will up the percentage. I think it's subliminal, maybe, but they are they are offering me lower than the cost on some of my cards, and I think that's Bush League. So because
Interesting.
I
Yeah,
know if they
that's
offered me like $3 or $4 over some of the cards, because when you accept a PSA offer, they give it to you straight away. There's no fees
right.
included.
They're like CarMax. They're like, this is what I'm offering you, and we're not taking
Yes.
anything. We're not taking anything higher or lower. Like, this is what you
Right.
get, and they've already done the math, which is cool.
Right. So
That's
if
what
I
I wanted
have
to
like
ask you.
497 invested in a card, they're offering me like 475. And I'm like, I know you guys can see that 497 is in there. But if they were to offer me 505, I'd probably smash it at some point. Maybe not on every card, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, like I want, because you're doing most of your business that way. And on most of, like, I'm grading a lot of my cards at PSA, but I'm also grading for no off-season members. And so a lot of my grading submissions, like, I'm looking at these offers come in and I'm going, well, I know this person wants their card back, but should I ask them if they want me to accept this offer? Because some of the offers seem pretty good to me. George, have you run across the PSA offers? How do you play that?
Yeah, I actually love PSA offers. I'm actually part of the PSA offer program at PSA. So when you guys get an offer, that's actually my offer coming to you guys.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So actually the way that works.
I was just going to say, like, tell us how that works.
Yeah. So one, Lefty, we cannot see your purchase price of what your value is in there. I can say that right away. That is a conspiracy theory. Like, they do not give that at least on my end. Like, me being the purchaser of your cards, they don't let us see that. Basically, all they do, and the reason why some of the values are slightly higher than what market movers and what actual comps are, is because these values are done off of card ladder value. Card ladder value is determined off of how Card Ladder views a card, and then they go, okay, so this card is selling this, but like this player is selling like this, so we really think this card is worth X, and that is the offer that they're giving a percentage off of, and that is what you're getting. Nice. They need to fine tune it a little bit, because like you said, some offers are high, some offers are also way low and completely off of it. It's not, we can't buy any one of ones off of customers yet. We can't, like, anything, like you said, there has to be good comps off of it. But that's pretty much the gist of like how they're doing the grading. It's all off of Card Ladder value, not even off of comps. It's off of what Card Ladder determines the value of the card.
Yeah, I have one card specifically that gets wild offers from a dollar standpoint. Like, I have a Blue Sapphire PSA 10 Oscar Piastri card, and I just have it because I'm a McLaren fan, right? But I have it in the vault, so I get offers on it all the time. And there are some times where I'll get an offer for like $40, and I'm like, okay, that's not, that's not gonna work.
That's probably just some random person throwing some low dog ball offer, because
it's not on. That specific one is not offered. So like, I'm getting the PSA offer every once in a while, and I guess it's because this card doesn't sell often. Yeah. So like, the comps just range all over the place. So I'm interested to see how it matures. As you talk about, there are some little small things that they're working out. So,
and like you just mentioned, the reason why some of the cards that have lower or less comps are getting crazier offers, it's because when you're joining this program with PSA, you can determine your Card Ladder confidence. And what that means is Card Ladder says, hey, we determine this card is valued X, and our confidence on that value is 5 out of 5. Well, when you're in this PSA program, you can say, you know what, I'm fine you submitting offers on cards that you have a 2 out of 5 confidence on.
Nice.
So they will actually, on those ones, those are going to be your completely off the wall offers, where sometimes it might be spot on, but normally it's going to be way under or way above the actual true value of the card.
Fascinating stuff there from George Crespbow. He's not only a nooffseason.com premium member, but definitely making a lot of moves in the hobby. That's super cool. Okay, so George, I understand this at a high level, but how do you become someone who actually can make the offers, right? Because we've talked about the one side of it where you can get offers just simply by submitting your cards to PSA. That now happens automatically. But you're talking more about, and you have a more of an understanding of the card ladder value, which is a separate topic. Maybe we can get into for a couple seconds. But first, can you just give a quick overview of your knowledge of how one would become someone who could make offers through PSA?
One, you got to be a business. You have to, you got to have an LLC, corporation, something set up with them, and you got to show them a track record that you can handle a wave of influx of business from them, and that you have avenues to be able to get rid of these cards, because it is a program. They do have billing cycles. So the last thing they need is for someone to join this program and then fall behind on billing cycles. Got
it. Cool. That's awesome. Now, the card ladder value, it's super interesting that came up, because I was thinking about it the other day, and it was either on the premium pod or on the Sports Card Strategy Show, where I made a comment answering someone's question about what to do with a particular card that they have, because it was down a little bit, right? And so my response had and their question had something to do with the card ladder value. And what I wanted to do is I wanted them to go back and look up actual comps themselves. So we know that PSA owns card ladder. So we kind of know why PSA has to use card ladder values. I know you also use market movers, and you use our stuff at nooffseason.com. I guess my question is, like, what's your confidence level in the card ladder? I mean, you have a lot of experience at this, and you're like a neutral third party. So what's your confidence level in how the card ladder value actually matches up with the comps, and maybe like how you would anticipate that card selling? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So I'll be 100% transparent with you guys. When it comes to my team comping out cards, because we do also have a series of people that go to sports card shows and send us in things. And then I have my team that goes through it. One, we actually developed an app that can give you, if it's a graded card, we can give you an offer and tell you what we think that card is worth in less than 5 seconds with our app, which is really cool. But that's internal house thing. So I completely went on a brain funk there on where I was going with
this.
You
were nailing it. Like I asked about the card ladder value and how that compares to comps, and that's exactly where you were.
So, so my team, when we get a card that card ladder does not have a 5 out of 5 value to, we go to market movers. Market movers, we have found right now, gives you more info and shows you more sales historically. And it's not that card ladder, you can't find those sales on there. You just have to be more precise on your searches and when you're typing in things when it comes to comping things out. So we really turn to market movers on those cards that don't have a 5 out of 5 value. But when card ladder, all they're doing for their confidence level when it comes to these cards is they're basically saying, like, hey, we see that that Victor Wembanyama as a whole is down by 20%, even though his silver might be selling at 750 or 800, we think it's really going to go down another 20%. So we're going to give it that price right now. Does that kind of answer it up?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I'm more, I mean, everybody knows this, but I'm more looking at market movers, looking at eBay, not as much alt, not as much card ladders, but it's important for me to not ignore that stuff. So I'm glad you're able to add some value there. That's really cool. And you did talk about market movers adding more historical data. And that's one of the reasons why I like that there's all these tools in the hobby, because you have to be able to, one thing, I think it's the thing that have built no offseason around, is a lot of people are good at looking at data, but they're not good at the so what of looking at the data. So the tools that we try to build actually just shortcut you to the so what. But to me, I still like looking at the raw data like you're talking about. So I'm going to use that to segue into looking at some of this raw data from market movers to talk about some of our other topics on today's show. I've identified some key cards that I think, quote unquote, survived the 2021 sports card market crash. So we'll talk about those. And I want to get your guys' take on whether or not they're good investments. But first, Lefty has a question related to some data. So Lefty, you've got kind of an interesting question here, and I've got the chart pulled up. So Take it away, man.
Yeah, before you put the chart up, I just want to ask you and George, just straight away, would you sell a card if it was up 467%, no matter what?
I mean, normally I would say yes, and that probably wouldn't shock anybody who's familiar with our show.
I'm
But
under
I've
the
seen
strong
some
belief-
content recently on Jeff Wilson, who, I mean, I know and respect Jeff a lot. And I've seen where he's like, they've done something on Sports Card Investor Instagram recently that's kind of cool, where it's like him watching old videos. And there's been some where he's like, man, like I made a lot of money on that, but I sold way too early. So I'm going to hand it over to George. My answer is going to be, I need more information. I need to know. I need all the details.
Probably yes.
But George, what do you think, man?
Every business I've ever been in, and I've heard y'all say it, you don't go broke taking profit. I'm never trying to be the top sale. I don't care to be the top sale. If I'm hitting my margins of where I want to be at, that's great. And if you can become the top seller tomorrow, the day after I sell it, thank God, praise the Lord for you. Like, I want you to be just as successful as anyone else. And that's part of the hobby. So that's the way I look at it, is like, hey, as long as I'm getting what I want out of it, that's all I care about. And 400%, yeah, give that to me all day long.
All right,
So
I'm taking George's answer. All right, Lefty, no, where was the actual context here?
So you can put the chart up here. This is a card I bought from Crim a couple of nationals ago that I think I told myself, I don't know if I'll ever sell this card. It's a 2004 PSA 8 Messi. It's a 2004 Mundi Chrome PSA 8. So this is the specific card that I have is this PSA 8 version of this card. And it's fluctuated, around, and it's gone down. But all of a sudden in the past 30 days, this card has skyrocketed. And if I'm honest, I'm not 100% sure why. Because Messi is still been Messi, he's still doing the MLS stuff. He's actually been borderline hurt over the last couple of months. And then, of course, he does sign an extension this week that they've been talking about by, Inter Miami, a longer term extension there for him to play in the MLS a little bit longer. But 460% profit on a card, like I just couldn't ignore that. So my specific profit margin right now, if I was to sell at 4,500, would be 411%. So the actual profit over the last 365 days for me would be 411%. And am I dumb for wanting to sell a Messi rookie card right now?
No, you're not dumb. I mean, so you would be, what did you buy this for? How much did you buy this for?
I bought it for $890.
Oh my God. I would sell for sure. I think George already gave his answer, which I love George's answer. I mean, I would sell for sure. I mean, I was going to ask you and you answered, like, why is this up? I mean, is it the GOAT effect like George talked about, which I believe in? I mean, obviously you made a great play here, Lefty. I would cash in on that, man.
I think it is the GOAT effect, and I think it's why we've been holding this card. Like we've talked about many times on this show how most of the time we're a 30 to 90 day flip. I knew this was going to be a card that I could potentially hold indefinitely, but I knew there was also going to be a season where it might spike. And I think there are always scenarios, and George, I love that you brought up PR teams earlier. Like, I think that we do not talk enough about which athletes have good PR teams, and maybe we should develop a document somehow scalping some data on which athletes spend the most money on a PR team.
I got
and then
some
we'll
of that actually.
Okay, I'm going to need to see
after
that.
their PR teams to want to see that, because one of my biggest concerns was Michael Jordan, and how he built his brand up.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned, but like that's what I went after, was who spends the most on their PR teams. And all Lionel Messi cards are up a ridiculous amount right now. I recommend everyone to sell right now, Lionel Messi.
There we go. Okay. So my final verdict is I did in fact list the card today. I did buy it now, and so I don't want to auction it. I don't want my card to come in at like the lowest point of this, but I did list the card today for just under the last comp. So maybe I'll have a little update for you guys in the next couple of days where I sold a card that I thought I might never sell. So here we are.
Good question. I'm super excited for you. And that's what I love about this show. I mean, we got George smiling. He's happy for Lefty.
Yeah, that's some money right there.
That is some good money. Yeah.
All right. So this is actually a perfect segue into this topic. I wasn't sure, I put this agenda together a couple weeks ago in preparation for having George on, and because I thought it would be kind of an evergreen topic to talk about, and it's actually tracking pretty well here. So I'm looking at what cards can I buy that are the exact fit for me as this card was for Lefty, right? And so one of the cards I've been looking at is 2003 Topps Chrome LeBron James, card number 111. And this is a card I like to think I'm really good at pattern recognition, and that's why we've been able to sort of build things off of that. When we talk about graded cards or cards that we're not going to really alter in any way, not like actually altering the card, but we're not going to grade it. We're not going to crack and submit. We're not going to do anything like that. So we're not going to make it a different comp than it already is. That's what I mean by alter, just for the record. It's probably a bad term to use, but we're basically going to leave a comp and then hope that the card goes up. So selling marker in mind, right card for the right player at the right time, to kind of use our vernacular at nooffseason.com. The PSA 9 of this card and the PSA 10 of this card have both gone up since, if you look at the historical data, and I'll go ahead and share this so that you guys can all see it. But what we're looking at is the all data chart from Market Movers. And before the boom, right? So the boom started to happen in 2020, and then it really, the bubble popped in basically February of 2021. And I remember that very, very,
yes.
I remember that it's definitely a time when I was buying way too many cards. And that's why I remember that distinctly. So this card before the boom was around a $2,500 card pretty consistently. So we're talking about 2019. It starts to go up in 2020. It reaches its peak. This is the PSA 10 in February of 2021. It sells, according to Market Movers, for an average of $38,700. That's an average across 49 sales in February 2021. To give everybody, if you're just new to the hobby, like that's what we all went through, was this bubble kind of popping. And so you still might see a lot of old gloom and doom content about sports cards from that time period. But where we're at now is that card pretty consistently sells multiple times a month. And if you go to the last 30 days, the average sale of that card is just under $7,000. So we're talking about it going up from 2,500 to about 6,900. Really, if you take out that bubble pop of 2021 and the rise up to that. To me, this card and the PSA 9, like I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but essentially it goes from a card that's less than a $700 card to double that price. So to me, these are cards that feel, based on that data, like the next 86 Fleer Jordan type of a card that's going to continuously rise in value. So I think my question is to both of you. Lefty, obviously we've been together for a long time and I trust you. George, obviously you're very successful at what you do and we're in lockstep with all the strategy and everything like that. And you're buying cards of this magnitude regularly. When you look at this card, we talked about the card ladder value. Where's the George Crespbow value on a card like this?
Oh, it's a buy. I mean, as long as you're expecting to hold, and that hold could be a year, 2 years, whenever he retires would really, be the big one. Or if him and Luka win a championship next year, which could happen. But it's a great card. I actually have 4 of them in PSA 10s. I think they're fantastic, and it's a good card.
Okay, so even though it started to rise in value, I mean, I guess that's the other part. And Lefty, what do you think as well? Like, is this a card that dips during the holiday dip where you can get it for a little bit less, either the PSA 9 or the PSA 10 in an eBay auction? Is this a card that you would actively be bidding on and okay with winning year round? Or is this a card that you target during a specific time of year?
Are you asking me or George?
Let's go George first.
Oh, targeting. You're targeting and you're making sure you're hitting
any time of year. Yeah. Lefty, what do you think?
I just go back to the previous September on the graph. There's a small blip in September of 2024, and then you see it go back in October of 2024, down a little bit more. And so I think that's curious to me. I think we are in September right now, so I would be wanting to come down a couple more percentage points from that. But I also think this would be a buy. I don't have the bankroll to be buying $7,500 cards. Maybe I'll sell a couple more Messis and get there, But what I'll say is I have been buying the 2003 white suit card. That's cheaper than this one, but I've been buying that card as well. Thinking about this residual rise that we'll have in LeBron James cards. I also know that due to my previous experience with Fibbo numbers and with stocks and different charts, that when there is an all-time high, that will eventually be a floor for a new all-time high. So I don't know, if we've seen a 38,000, it might seem unobtainable at this point, but I do believe we will see another $38,000 LeBron James sale at some point. So especially with a guy that's, like we've talked about, has so much emphasis on his own PR. I think LeBron is a great investment, and we've been saying that for a couple of years now. So I do think now is about the time you need to be buying in, because he's about to go on his swan song here. There's not that many laps around the turn going on. So LeBron's coming to the end of a career. And if we remember what Brady's end of his career was like, right before he retired, everybody was like, we have to buy right now because we want to sell when he retires. And we've talked about this a lot, Paul. The selling opportunity is actually right before the selling opportunity that most people perceive, because that's when the last people want to be like, okay, I'll pay. I want to get in on this 20% rise when we've ridden it 80%, if that makes sense. So
that's a great point.
And I think that I want to be there for that 80% LeBron rise. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And the PSA 10 did dip in in September, and it is significantly more expensive, but the PSA 9 is really the card that I've been targeting because that's more in my price range. It sold for $699 this August, and now it's selling for $1,500. I mean, it's the last sale $1,589, sale last week for $1,899, and there was a sale August 22nd for $2,000. So it's just, there are ways to make money on that particular card, the PSA 9, in the shorter term. I mean, clearly those price points are like one person won an auction and then another person, is clearly a buy it now. And so there's a lot of different ways to make money with these cards, and great analysis out of you guys. So obviously I compared that to the 1986 Fleer 57 base Michael Jordan. And that was kind of interesting too, because this is a card in PSA 6. And the reason I pulled the PSA 6, it's pop 3007, according to Market Movers. And the LeBron cards that I just talked about were around that pop count as well, slightly lower than that. But the PSA 6 of this 86 Fleer base Michael Jordan was a card that in December of 2019 and leading up to December of 2019 was around a $1,400 to $1,600 card. It sold again in February 2021, which is going to be every card like this' peak, for $8,900. And that was an average across 24 sales. And now it's trending back up again, selling multiple times this month for an average of $5,355. So this is a card that's gone from, again, a $1,500 card to now a $5,500 card, basically. Is this a card as well that we're going to see trending up and is a buy now versus, cool your jets? You need to make sure that you're winning this in an auction, making money on the buy side, following all the principles we talked about. I mean, basically what we're talking about here is like, is this easy money either way, or do you need to be careful? I think we all feel like LeBron James, like, yeah, don't do something stupid and overpay, double what you should be paying for in an auction. But generally you're targeting that at all times. Is this one of those cards as well? Lefty, you go ahead and go first. What's your thoughts here?
I think you should still always be taking the auction price here, unless it is less than a 5% margin. I think it like in terms of the buy it now price versus where auctions are ending or where they're perceiving to end. Then I think the buy it now price is obtainable, but I like to bid in auctions because that's the fair market value for where that card is going. And we've talked about that quite a bit as well. I also would add an extended question on the end of your question there, Paul. What PSA grade is too low for you to buy it on this card? Like, would you go down, to a 6, to a 5, to a 7 on a card like this? Or would you just stay in the top 2 or 3?
It's one of those things where, I mean, the short answer is that every single slabbed version of this card from any reputable grading company, even if it's just authentic or authentic altered, Beckett has the authentic altered, is going to sell, and it's going to sell well and fairly quickly. Does that mean you're going to make money on it? I think that's going to depend on like what you said, where I think if it's a lower grade than this, you're really going to have to make money on the buy side for now, because if you're looking at a shorter term flip, like 6 to 12 month flip, you're going to have to make your money getting a good deal on the buy side based on what I've seen and experienced, but you're not going to be left holding the bag by any means. So it shouldn't be a loss for you. I think if we're looking at this from, hey, how do I make money on a Michael Jordan graded 86 Fleer? That's why I brought up the PSA 6, just strictly because it seems to be the one that is just trending up regardless of anything Michael Jordan's doing or not doing. It just seems to be a hot stock right now. And I wonder if it continues to go up. Or if there is some risk here because it is more expensive. So the other thing, with this card that I've talked about before on the show in all grades is you will get so many mixed prices on this. If you go to a card show, like you're going to see comps for way less than you would see anybody budge off of at a card show. And that could be due to eye appeal. This card is from 1986 as well. So LeBron's is from 2003, but this is way older than that. So you see like all these different conditions of this card. Like there was a BGS 6 that I saw up for auction last week that literally had a huge crease running through the middle of it. And I was like, oh, BGS 6, that's a good grade. Like that should flip nicely. But I didn't bid on it because I know some buyers are going to be deterred by the eye appeal of a freaking crease going through it. So yeah. I think with this card, you have to look at it's a little trickier, but I mean, it's still, if you're winning this in an auction and you're not doing what I did, which is get scammed and get sent an Uber Eats coupon from Canada instead of actually going through the authenticity guarantee, you're going to be pretty safe. But I mean, another perfect question to ask our guy, George. I mean, George, like, how often do you deal in this card, and what's your take on this card in this grade with this data?
I love the Michael Jordan Fleer card. I mean, who doesn't? It's his rookie card. It's a gorgeous card. As for Michael Jordan, the only way I tell my team to target him is when we're going after Michael Jordan, we're looking to make money on the buy side. Like that's the only way you can go into a Michael Jordan card. He's already become a Hall of Famer. He's already retired. No one wants him to die, but he's also way too young to be considered like, oh, could he be dying soon? Like he's only in his like 50s, 60s. So like there's not too many big selling markers. Yes, he's in NASCAR, so he could win a championship in NASCAR. go on a run there and do all this other stuff. But yeah, you got to focus on making money on your buy side when it comes to these cards.
Love it. All right. So the next one, Lefty. This is your card, brother. 2001 Upper Deck #1 base Tiger Woods. We're going to talk about the PSA 10. I like this because it's a much lower price point. It's much more achievable for everybody to get into. Now, I'm typically in the camp of let's go with achievability and desirability and the mix between the two. And what I mean by that is, and I picture this is really cheesy, but I picture like I'm walking down the street and the name of the intersection of the street, one's achievability and the other's desirability. And like I'm trying to like be at that intersection at all times. And what I mean specifically is like it's achievable because it has a pop count high enough, and it's desirable because it has a pop count low enough. So it can't be too high of a pop count, it can't be too low. And then of course the achievability comes in with price as well. So this is another card where I think it's super achievable because there's almost 15,000 of them in PSA 10, and it's less than a $500 card. So just about everybody listening can afford this card. Now, the question is, can you make money in the short term or long term flipping this card, given that it was actually like less than $100 before the spike? And then when the bubble bursted, it sold for $824 to an average. That was the average across 225 sales in February 2021. And now from $80, it's sort of rising up again in the 272 to 350 range. Lefty, since this is your card, when you look at this, do you think I can buy a PSA 10 of this card and make money on it, either flipping it in the next 12 months or as a long-term hold?
My thought is I'm not looking to buy this card in a PSA 10. I'm looking to buy this card raw, because and that's what we've been doing. I bought 7 of these raw at the National, and they all looked good enough to be a PSA 10. I also will say a year ago, I was crushing this card. I was buying this at $180 all day long. I sold 3 of them this week, Paul, because I had them vaulted and I had them buy it now at $300. And I was getting offers all year, 120, 130, 140, and I was just like, no, love this card too much to move it. 3 of them moved this week for $300. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. That is what we're trying to achieve, is create at the intersection of desirability and what was the other one? Availability,
achievability,
whatever. Tiger Woods 2001 Upper Deck #1 base is literally in the middle of that intersection. That might as well be a roundabout, and Tiger Woods is right in the middle of it. This card is money.com, I think. And because there's so many raw to grade opportunities in this card, no, I don't think you should be buying a PSA 10 right now, because I don't. And because even if this card does go to $500, which I have a hard time believing because of the pop count, I think the better way to make money on this is on the buying side too, but buying raw, because there's a lot of these out there.
All right. I like that. And it's certainly consistently been one of the top raw to grade options in our sports card rankings from an ROI perspective. What's interesting to me is it sold for $159 in December, $162 in December. I mean, when you talk about the holiday dip, I mean, this is a classic case. $183, $172, all in November and December, over and over and over again, multiple times. And now, it goes through, okay, we get to February. Is Tiger going to play this year? We get to March. It's still up over 200, but now we're talking about it being, there's a $351 sale at the end of August. We're talking about it because it's up over $300 again consistently this month across multiple sales. So I'm with you on the raw to grade, but I'm also thinking, like, can I do what Lefty did last year, which is buy this at 180 or 190 in an auction during the holiday dip and then flip it for, I mean, if I got to wait a year, that's fine, or almost a year, like 9 months, flip it 9 months later in August, September for $250. That's not a huge profit margin after fees and everything, but also could be a decent play. George, what's your take on, okay, we've talked to you about high dollar cards. And I mean, I know you do way more than just high dollar cards, but when you look at a card like this, PSA 10, technically still like active, but not really active, GOAT, pop 15,000. Do you touch this at all? Is there a play here for you?
As a PSA 10, only during the holidays, like you're saying. I actually love this card too. This was actually the first card that I bought off of your strategy that I got graded and came back as a PSA 10.
Let's
you
go.
can still find this card as raw and get PSA 10. I think last year we got 20 of them converted into PSA 10s. They're great cards. A lot of people take good care of them. So I think y'all hit the nail on the head. Buy it raw from Lefty side. And then if you are going to buy it graded, wait till the holiday dip. And then that's when you would be looking at your best bet. But yeah, no, we still, my God, every single month we're going through your list on and adding it to ours. Like I'm not making my list of what my team should be going after to buy without first checking yours, Paul. And this baby's always on it.
Come on, dude.
Phenomenal. I love that. Yeah, I feel
good.
If
you were in a position to get like a $2,000 bonus at the end of the year from your job, and you just put it down on 10 of these suckers, and you did that year over year over year, that's a great way to make a lot of money. So
yeah,
it's a great way to think about it. And a lot of fun in the process too, you know. Yeah. And another card that's been super successful in our raw to grade rankings, and I'm going to bring it up again from a graded standpoint because it just continuously goes up, is this Aaron Judge 2017 Topps Chrome 168 base. Now the paper version non-chrome also does very well in our raw to grade rankings, but this was interesting because not only did it go up since the boom from like a $50 card to now, I mean, crazy that it's sold for $300 in August multiple times. It's sold for $297 at average across 30 sales this month. You know, the 365-day average of this card is only 148. So like clearly it's going to come down in the off season. It's going to come down during the holidays. Its all-time high actually was passed. It sold in February 2021, obviously, for $168 average across 49 sales. But it sold September 2022. I believe that was when he had his home run record for an average of 292 across 226 sales. But then it just surpassed that last month with the 299 average across 49 sales. So clearly this is a card, don't go buy this now. But if we're looking at it, investing in it from a PSA 10 standpoint, yes, you can do the raw to grade, which I would love. But if we're looking at this card, do I want to wait till December? Lefty, I'm going to come to you first as our baseball expert. Do I want to wait till December, try to win this thing in an auction that might be closer to what would be reasonable, $150? And then does it go back up again? Like, and this is probably a performance related Aaron Judge question as much as anything else. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this card has to return to earth a little bit, but because Aaron has been out of this world this year. I mean, Cal Raleigh's having legitimate seasons where not only is he passing Griffey, but he is passing Mickey Mantle. I mean, he's breaking Mickey Mantle records, and Aaron Judge is still going to win the MVP. That's ridiculous. And so because we've seen it so consistently from Aaron, we're not so blown away by it. But from the price perspective, I think this is deserved. I think this card is probably one that we should be paying more attention to in the offseason because it is too achievable and what frick, I already messed it up again.
Desirable
and achievable. This card's there too. I mean, when this card goes into the $150 range, crush that buy button because it's 200. The last sale is 295 or something right now. and it went up to 300, less than a week ago. This card is easily a $250 card next year. Like, it doesn't have to get up to 300 for you to profit pretty massively on a 150 to 250 range. So that's good. That's a really, really good margin. So,
all right, I see George nodding in the background as well. So we're going to start with him on this next card. Mike Trout, 2011 Topps Update, US 175 base PSA 10. This is a pop 6805, selling consistently in 2019 for $1,000 or less, sold 92 times in February 2021 for an average of $5,947. So obviously that's 5x, almost 6x. And then now it's selling for around $1,500. So it's basically doubled since before the boom. And Mike Trout is definitely a different type of player, I think, due to injuries than he was back in 2019, 2020, 2021. So I think, based on George's nodding, and he can correct me if I'm wrong on the Aaron Judge, the Aaron Judge would fall into potentially that active GOAT type of a status. How do you look at Mike Trout?
He scares the hell out of me. I mean, the guy, that one meme, that skit, football guys walking out there, coach spits a sunflower seed, steps on it, leg snaps in half. That's Mike Trout. Like, the guy just can't stay healthy. I love that Aaron Judge card. I love it on the raw, on grading it raw. But yeah, Trout scares me. For my guys, it's all about trying to get it on the buy side. But I'll be honest, we do not have any active buys for Trout right now out.
Lefty, what about you? I mean, is he dead in the water as a sports card investment? I know there's probably a lot of people holding out hope that he's not, but
here is a surprising thing, I think. I do not think this card is done, but I think there will have to be some significant things that happen in Trout's life for this to be what it once was. Last week, Mike Trout hit his 400th home run. So he crossed a mile marker that we thought would be easily obtainable a couple of years ago. We were like, oh, this is going to be so easy to obtain for Mike Trout. And look at where the sales are from August to September. If you look on the chart, they went down in September. This card was $797 in August, and it's at $732. Right now. So he hit a massive mile marker, this week, and that card still hasn't rebounded yet. Now, maybe that data comes in after a week or so, and we see a pop due to Mike Trout gaining popularity. Here's my thing. Mike Trout is actually only, he is 34 years old, and Aaron Judge is 33 years old. People don't realize how close in age they are because they assume that Aaron Judge is going to play forever, and they assume that Mike Trout is right on his way out. I'm going to take a duality on that and say that Aaron Judge is not going to play forever. We need to also be mindful of how old he is. Now, he can play a lot longer because of the way that he plays, and because once they get Giancarlo Stanton off their books, he'll just probably DH for the Yankees until forever. So, I think Aaron Judge is still the better investment here. But I think looking at Trout as only 34 years old is still playable. Like, this guy could still do some pretty significant things. And he could still get into the 500 home run club, which would still put this card at worth buying to me, because there's still some pretty significant markers in his selling opportunities going forward. Now, does he do all that in an Angels uniform? I don't think so. I hope not. Because if he doesn't, let's say that they pair this guy with, let's say that he goes to Seattle, Julio Rodriguez and Mike Trout, same lineup. I think this card skyrockets. I think you see a massive rise in this card. I think it's very similar to what we saw in the Luka transaction from the Mavs to the Lakers. He's the same player from the Mavericks to the Lakers, but his team is what set it apart. Like, and we saw that jump there. And we've seen other athletes trade teams, and it hurt their profile. Right now, the Angels, I think he could go to any franchise and it would up his value. Maybe not Colorado, but maybe still Colorado because he'd hit 95 home runs a year in Colorado. So I think this card has to be somewhere in a safe buy range. Now, I do think that George is right by saying we need to have money on the buy side if you're going to invest in this card right now. But no, it is not dead.
Interesting. Yeah, like both great points. And part of the reason I wanted to bring this up was to kind of learn the get a heat check on Mike Trout and like what he could still be. But also, like, when we run this through our sports card rankings for the already graded, or as Lefty likes to call the graded to graded, it tracks pretty well because the last sale, 722 as of yesterday, the average in the last 365 days, 822. Not a huge profit margin, but enough to make money on, especially if you're making money on the buy side, like we've all talked about. So interesting.
Let me offer one more statistic, okay? Let's say that Mike Trout DHs until and he's playing baseball till he's 40. Okay? Let's just say he's playing baseball till he's 40. He hit 22 home runs this year as we're coming to the end of a season, and he played 125 games. I'd say that's probably pretty obtainable for the majority of the rest of his career. He's going to have years where he's going to play more than that, and he's probably going to have years where he's going to get hurt again, just knowing who Mike Trout is. If you average out 22 home runs over 7 years, that's 154 home runs from now, which puts him in the 550 range. All that really needs is for 1 or 2 or 3 of those years in the next 7 for him to have closer to 30 home runs, for him to be potentially in the 600 range. And that's where you're getting like pretty low pop count for those dudes. So I don't know. I'm not willing to give up on him right now. I'm not saying he's a great buying opportunity right now, but if he switches teams at all, and let's say he finds his way to a short porch in New York. Let's just say he finds his way to a short porch in New York, or maybe a short porch in Houston, that ballpark where balls just fly over the left field fence. This could be a ridiculous card at some level.
What's interesting about this is that like he would be in the top 10 if he does. There's a lot of ifs, right? But I like Lefty's logic, and it's all based on math here. So if he does what Lefty's talking about, he'd be in the top 10 all-time home runs at the time, most likely. Now, does that mean that his card value would skyrocket? Maybe, but not necessarily, because Jim Tomei and Sammy Sosa are also on that list, which props to them, but they're not exactly hobby darlings. And Mike Trout has been a hobby darling, which. But
what is one higher than them, Paul? Name the player one higher than them.
I just freaking closed out of my browser window. Dang it. Hold on, I'm
Sammy
back.
Sosa's 9, Jim Tomey's 8.
Oh,
Ken
yeah,
Griffey
like the
Jr.
hobby darling of all hobby darlings, Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's interesting. Like that's why like the Trout discussion is interesting. You know, I think because he has been the Ken Griffey Jr. He's been the active Ken Griffey Jr. of the hobby. He's not now. To George's point, like I'm more on the side of George on this, but at the same time, like if I see this card and maybe it's going to end in an auction in December for like $500, then it's kind of like, oh, that's a no-brainer. But I might not bid any higher than that. We'll see.
I also want to point out that Ken Griffey Jr. had quite the injured-riddled history later in his career. And his market has survived.
That's true. That's a good point. I mean, Cincinnati Reds, I don't think anybody thinks of him. No offense to anybody Cincinnati Reds fan, but no one really thinks of him as a Cincinnati Red.
Do you think about him as a Chicago White Sox?
No, I do not.
Just saying.
No, I do not. Seattle Mariner only, Ken Griffey Jr. for me. but obviously that's not the case. All right. Wouldn't it be nice if there were a tool you could just upload pictures of a card that would tell you what it would grade and or what it would be worth in the future? I love saying this. We built one. Go premium at nooffseason.com, weekly, monthly, and annual. Use the promo code NOOFFSEASON to save 20% now. Also, George and everybody else like George loves our top sports card auctions. One of the reasons I built that is because like I don't want to go to eBay and not know what to search for, not know what to bid on. So we're pulling in the top sports card auctions at nooffseason.com from eBay. So check that out. And also, we're happy to grade for you. If you are a premium member at nooffseason.com, we'll submit to the grading company of your choice, because that card analyzer and predictor tool might say, hey, this would cross over nicely to BGS. Maybe this one should go SGC because there's upside in the 9.5, but it's not going to gem. So we're submitting to multiple grading companies, and we want to be very data driven in our recommendations. So that's why we build the tools that we build at nooffseason.com. So great last discussion there. I think we got a good point of view from all three of us on what we would do with each of those cards. I personally am going to go more for the 2003 LeBron James Topps Chrome PSA 9 probably than any of the others, even though the others seem to have merit. I'm going to go with the PSA 9 LeBron James because the accessibility and desirability intersection, the price point, and just the overall confidence in LeBron James and in that card. But Lefty, if you had to pick one from the last segment, which one would you pick now that you've had some time to think them through?
Oh man, Tiger? I think I have to say that. I think I have to say Tiger Woods just because of the accessibility.
Good choice. George, what about you?
You know, I was going to say LeBron James, but after Lefty went on about Mike Trout there, I literally wrote a note that I need to do some more research here about Mike Trout. But yeah, no, I'm going LeBron James here. But yeah, that Lefty's making me rethink my team strategy here on Mike Trout right now, because it's true. He is the darling of, the current Ken Griffey Jr. of the hobby. So
yeah, that's what's fun about what we do, right? Is like maybe we're not thinking about a certain player, but then we learn from each other, and that's why I love being part of this community. So very, very good stuff. Okay, so I made a flag plant prediction back in the summer that Jayden Daniels card prices would plummet around this time. So I wanted to check myself on that and talk about it.
He was going to get hurt,
and I did not know he was going to get hurt. And I actually pulled data before he got hurt, and I had a link to it in the show notes, and it was tracking the same direction. But it's obviously like it auto updates itself, so I'm not really able to go back to that. You guys will just have to trust me. They were already down. And we can pull up some individual cards and we can check it, obviously. So we'll do that. But the reason I made the prediction I made was solely based on what's happened in the past. Year after year after year, it's solely a supply and demand issue. So a new release comes out of the top quarterbacks in an NFL draft class, and everybody goes and buys those singles when they hit the market for their top prices because the demand is so high and the supply is so low. Well, then more and more cards come out, but not only that, but more and more of each card gets graded. So we talk about the right card for the right player at the right time. And that's why I say typically if you're not going to do a raw to grade play, don't buy into a player's cards until a year, maybe even 2 years after their rookie releases have all already come out for a couple of reasons. Number one, most importantly, the supply and demand has already plateaued itself. Number two, we know who that player is. We have more of a sample size of who that player is at that point. Is that a little bit harder to make money then? Yeah, but it's also mitigating a lot of risk. So Jayden Daniels was my prime use case this year for that. And sure enough, when I pull over the last 30 days, the Jayden Daniels cards, and there's many ways to look at the data here. What I wanted to do is I wanted to see what are the top selling Jayden Daniels cards in the last 30 days? And then what have they done? Right. So the top selling Jayden Daniels card in the last 30 days is his Prism Base Raw. That has sold 496 times in the last 30 days. That's down 20%. The Prism Silver Raw is next. It's sold 221 times in the last 30 days. That's down 22%. The Prism Silver, or the Prism Base PSA 10, not silver, Pop 4857 is next. It's sold 192 times in the last 30 days. That's down 27%. So you can continue to go down this list. The Jayden Daniels 2024 Prism Silver PSA 9 is down the list, but it's sold 106 times in the last 30 days. It's down 32% or $58. So, let's pull that one, right? To Lefty's point. So I don't know if either of you know off the top of your head. So he got injured. It was like last Thursday night. To be accurate, I believe he got injured on, was it September 11th? Thursday, September 11th, I think was the game. And then he missed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So he got injured on Thursday, September 11th. So that card sold for 170. When I say that card, this is the Prism Silver PSA 9 because it's Pop 1600. Sold for, I'll just read some sales. 179, 182, 155, 155, 192, 170. The 170 sale was on September 10th. There was an auction that ended for 216 on the night he got injured, which sucks for that person. But then it goes 172, 132, 175, 127, 166, 174, 125, 124. So it was already down. And now it's down even more because of injury. And that's also why we say, one of the reasons why we say, try to get out of all of your football cards before week 1. Not necessarily because you're going to make the most profit, but because you're going to get the most gross return back, because this also happens. When a player, Jayden Daniels set crazy expectations in his rookie year for what people thought he was going to do in his second year. Not that he couldn't achieve those. I mean, he still could achieve those this year, but the odds of him achieving those are low. So you're trying to play the game of supply and demand. That's one reason why it's coming down. More supply, demand can't keep up. And he has to live up to these expectations. So for those reasons, he was my number one I'm going to avoid guy of all of 2025. I feel pretty good about that call. I guess I want to do more than just pat myself on the back for this. But so like, George, did you see this happening? Have you guys been like, is this a situation where you guys are raw to grade Jayden Daniels and you've had success? Is this a situation where you've avoided Jayden Daniels because of this? What's your, I mean, of course, maybe you're going to have a lot of people, like, depending on how long he's out or if his values continue to go down. I'll go on the record right now. I think he's going to be a buy during the holiday dip for sure. What do you think?
I think he's going to be a buy during the holiday dip. We did do some grading, raw to grade. I'll be honest, though, we stayed away from all prisms for the most part, just because they did so bad. And we actually focused on bomb squads and crushed bomb squads, the clearly and the non-clearly ones of Don Russ. I think, and we were insane rate on Gem 10ing those bad boys. I think we have still over 300 of those in inventory right now as PSA 10s. So yeah, I listened to you when you said he was going to drop. I saw the writing on the wall. It happened to CJ Stroud, and most recent, memory for people. So yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head, and we made sure to stay away from it.
I love that you guys went like in a little bit of a different direction, like with the bomb squads and the clearlies, and finding those little pockets is why, like, Lefty and I, we try to remind people, like, yeah, it's easy to take a blanket statement and then make a mistake because of it. But so I like that you did your research and maybe found some pockets where the raw to grade did really work. So nice job on that.
We did want to out on Jayden Daniels because of how popular he is, but we also wanted to make sure Prism had 30% gem rates on their cards. So why go after that when Don Russ not selling nowhere near the same on the resale side? But if I can buy a card for $20, grade it for 20, and then sell it for 60 or 80, I'll take that.
Yeah, that's great. That's super smart. And you're doing that at scale because it's an achievable card, not so much a desirable card, but you found the profit. And so Very, very cool. Now, I will say, Lefty, that you can pull data that shows that his Prism Silver PSA 10 is actually up. But if you look at 180 days, because I know this is a card that you and I talk about a lot, the Prism Silver PSA 10 of top guys. I would say, like, when you go 180 days, I mean, it's down 8%. So, I'm right on that, but it's not like it hasn't gone up. I mean, it has gone up a few times. Like, you could have bought it for $9.99 in July, and you could have sold it for $13.24 on September 10th before he got injured. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
there have been times when you could make a little bit of money on his Prism Silver PSA 10. It's only a pop 515. But I mean, man, wouldn't that be a great no? So it sold this past week a couple times for under $1,000. I mean, wouldn't this be a nice card to buy it around $500-$600 if it dips that low around Christmas? What do you think? I mean,
I was actually, while y'all were talking, I was going and I was looking at the chart and I was like, okay, PSA 9s, are there any on auction? There were a couple for like $50-$60, and I was like, I would be willing to pay $80 to $100 for a PSA 9 silver of that, because I feel like that's so sellable at the 120 range, at 130, 140 range next year. So I was like, cool, I'm just going to go bid on some. And I didn't get any of them. Like, they're all over that $100 range at that point. People are already willing to pay more than that. So, but I was already bidding on some of this activity. So I think there is opportunity that we can win with Jayden. I think his injury might give us an even shorter window for that. Like, like, people are popping off right now because his backup did well on Sunday. And people are like, oh, Jayden, is he just in a program? No, he's a great quarterback. And I'm gonna invest in that at some level. And I actually had a dream last night that he showed up to my house. This is funny, that he showed up to my house and gave me that out of 49 that I sold, the redemption auto that I sold at the National for all those Topps exchange packs. I had a dream that he delivered it to my house, which is kind of funny. So maybe I should just keep betting on it.
Some vision quest going on.
Yeah. I mean, Jayden Daniels from an NFL player standpoint, I believe, is going to pay off for people long term who look for the strategies that we're talking about. Like, to me, I mean, the NFL experts are talking about this guy being an MVP candidate, and that was before the injury, but that was this year. I mean, like, and he plays for a darn good, you wouldn't have said this last year, but now he plays for a pretty darn good franchise. So, like, definitely things I think this now puts Jayden Daniels in a, like what the three of us are saying, in a buy category, not necessarily right now, but if he's out of the news cycle and there's a holiday dip, there could be like a perfect buying storm for Jayden Daniels. I mean, actually not much would make me happier than if there's like this perfect buying storm for Jayden Daniels around the holidays, because you just know if a guy like Joe Burrow can survive multiple injuries based on one good playoff run that he's had, Jayden Daniels, I believe, can certainly sustain that. And now obviously that's a hot topic because Burrow's injured again. I'm not saying that he's going to be able to sustain it again, but he definitely has in the past. Like, the dude's been injured. We've bought his card. We've made money on Joe Burrow that way. And if we can make money on Jayden Daniels that way, I mean, that'd be great. If you like the content on this show and want more, go premium at no off season now to get unlimited advice answered on our premium podcast. You can save 20% at nooffseason.com now using the promo code no off season. Guys, I've got two more segments. One is going to be where I read eBay search data, which will be cool and give you guys a chance to comment on it. But first, I think it'll be fun to talk about something like kind of a theme of this show has been GOATs, Hall of Famers, already graded cards. And, we talked about Mike Trout, which is a guy that I don't talk about very often. Another guy that I don't talk about very often is Tom Brady. And Tom Brady was in the news this past week for being in the coach's booth for the Raiders when he's an owner and he's a broadcaster for Fox Sports. I mean, I'm curious when I look at Tom Brady's cards over the last 60 days, there are quite a few that are down. I just wonder if they're the right cards for him. And he's obviously, the interesting thing about Tom Brady is he will be Hall of Fame eligible in 2028. So will that be another potential spike in his cards? I know we haven't necessarily seen a spike in Hall of Fame announcements, Hall of Fame induction cards since 2021. But it could be different for Tom Brady because he could be in the news quite a bit more. Peyton Manning is already in the Hall of Fame. He was inducted in the class of 2021, along with Charles Woodson and Calvin Johnson, other big names there. Peyton Manning has some cards as well. When you pull his cards that are down over the last 60 days, he has some interesting cards that are down just a little bit. And Drew Brees is the other guy that I decided to pull because he's going to be eligible for the Hall of Fame in 2026. So there's like kind of an imminent Drew Brees Hall of Fame announcement. He does not, when you pull Drew Brees cards that are down over the last 60 days, he does not really have the intriguing cards. He doesn't have many cards that are down, first of all, and he doesn't have many intriguing cards, secondly. Manning and Brady, to me, are very different in the hobby than Drew Brees, but I think if you're looking at them from, a quarterback Hall of Famer standpoint, they might not be that different. I'm interested in getting into some Tom Brady. Lefty, what do you think?
I think there's another element to this that you haven't said yet. So I wonder if you actually even know about this at this point. But Tom Brady has announced that he's going to return to play in the inaugural flag football tournament for the Olympics. So the NFL Greatest is set to promote the new Olympic sport in a tournament in Saudi Arabia in March 2026, ahead of the sport's debut at the next Summer Olympics in 2028. Does that mean that Tom Brady is going to play in the flag football tournament in 2028? I don't think so. But it doesn't mean that specifically. But what it does mean is they will wine and dine him all over this tournament in March of 2026. So, yes, I do believe that there is a reason and a short-term selling marker for Tom Brady before his eligibility in 2028 as a Hall of Famer. So, yeah, the answer to your question for me is yes, but you didn't hear an answer yes because of the reason that you gave. But I still think that even the reason you gave is still a reason to buy it. I think Tom Brady's market has fallen to places I didn't expect it to fall to after his retirement, even with him in the booth and things like that, with him owning some of the Raiders. I thought his market would be a little stronger. Like if you had asked me 5 years ago, will Tom Brady's post-playing career, cards go bananas? And I'd be like, yeah, I still think they're going to go. They're going to be moving quite a bit. And I just don't see that as much as I probably expected to see it. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to still happen at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I specifically didn't buy, I faded Tom Brady for the reason that you're talking about, because I just felt like his cards were selling for too much. And of course it's warranted if you look at things objectively from a football standpoint, but it didn't seem to me like after he retired, and he was going to be retired for several years, like he was going to matter as much anymore to people, and that his prices would come down to a more achievable point for me. So when I look at the intersection of achievability and desirability, George, what comes to me is the 2000 Skybox Impact Base PSA 8. It's a pop 3146. It's currently down $113 over the last 60 days. It has sold 41 times. So it's achievable, it's desirable, and if I can buy it at around $107, which is its last sale, then I could make, it's not going to literally be $113 because fees are going to come out, but I can make money. I know that I can make money on that card. But I also look at his I don't love that card though. That's part of the problem is
because it's Michigan gear.
He's in like, I think it's not even licensed Michigan gear. I think it's like, it's photoshopped Michigan gear if you pull it up, because you don't, and I mean, like, I don't care about this because I don't like Michigan, but it's not Michigan's helmet, and it's not like, so it's an unlicensed Tom Brady rookie card. The data says to buy it, but is it going to be a card that people are going to want long term versus like you look at the 2000 Bowman base, you look at, obviously the Topps Chrome, it's going to come at more of a premium, but those types of cards, when you're looking at Tom Brady, where does your mind go, George? And what types of plays have you made on Brady, if any?
So I'll be honest, Brady and Peyton Manning, I'm a 90s kid. So, that's who I grew up watching. When I started really getting into football, these are my diehard guys. I got a box of Bowman that I ripped open actually just the other day. I actually might've been 2 weeks by now, to look for some Tom Brady rookies, just because I was bored and wanted to do something with my girlfriend. But don't rip wax, guys. So with that being said, I think Tom Brady's unique. I'm a little scared about Tom Brady with how close he is with Fanatics. Like, or is he all of a sudden, like next year, or the year before he hits Hall of Fame, are they going to start dropping Topps Tom Brady edition box where you're going to get a bunch of autographs and a bunch of these and a bunch of that? So I'm a little concerned long-term for Tom Brady, but short-term, I do like Tom Brady. For the things that, like Lefty said, I do like that he's really active right now into the flag football. That's going to be coming up. And if anyone knows anything about Saudi Arabia, those guys know how to promote. And one thing, like I will keep saying over and over again, is find people that have good PRs to like invest in if you're going after those GOAT status. So like right now he has that. He's surrounding himself with good, PR people. So I think short term it's a good buy. Long term, I am a little scared with Tom Brady with how close he is with Fanatics. And this sounds ridiculous, but with how heavy he is getting involved into the hobby. Is he going to start printing out a bunch of autographs on cards and all these other things? So a little long term, a little concerned. Short term, still love him.
Yeah, those are amazing points too. But great points by both of you guys. But the point George made about, is he going to have a watered down hobby presence due to his interest in not only the hobby itself, his own businesses in the hobby, and his partnership with Fanatics? That definitely is something to consider. And, because when you look at guys like Barry Sanders, you look at guys like, Bo Jackson, they sign a lot of autographs. They get paid to sign a lot of autographs. And, there's a longer list than those two guys. Those are just two guys that came off the top of my head. But many, many pro athletes, Allen Iverson, you see guys that are paid to sign a lot of autographs, and they're going to do that. And so it makes their autographs worth less. And so Tom Brady potentially could become victim to that. Now, when you look at Michael Jordan and you look at that's actually one of the reasons why I'm more confident in, like, if I were to win a LeBron James auto and it's an upper deck auto, that's that type of thing. I'm more confident that that's going to go up in value than a Tom Brady, PSA 8 Bowman 2000. You know what I mean? Just for all those reasons that you guys kind of outlined, and it's debatable. Like, LeBron definitely has more imminent selling markers that matter to people. Brady still has some selling markers. Do they matter as much to people? It'll be interesting to see if you guys are right about the Saudi Arabia flag football thing. Like, if his cards do go up due to all that media coverage, it certainly won't hurt. That's for sure. The two other guys I mentioned, like, I think there's always a lot of Peyton Manning enthusiasts that say he should be worth more. He's just not, and I don't know if that's because of his cards being from 1998. I don't know if it's because he's got some split fan bases between the Colts and the Broncos, although you could argue the same for Brady. They're both pretty similar there. Obviously, Brady won more Super Bowls than Peyton Manning. Now, Manning he just does not sell anywhere near Brady. And the question is, when you can go buy a Peyton Manning 1998 Topps Finest PSA 9, which is a pop 1625 that's down $40, does that start to become a card, obviously like at a lower price point, that you can flip to make money? Lefty, what do you think about Peyton Manning? I mean, is he even on your radar? Like, I think part of the reason why I wanted to bring this discussion up with you guys too is because a mistake I've seen people make in the past is they say, okay, well, one guy like Steph Curry is a guy that I'm going to make a play on. But what about Chris Paul? Or what about Ray Allen? And what about, and if I'm going to make a play on Kobe, but what about Kevin Garnett? You know what I mean? And so I think there's always a fine line when you get new people into the hobby. They might say, oh yeah, I see all the points that you guys are making on Brady, but what about Peyton Manning? Lefty, what about Peyton Manning?
I actually would be, I've always had this assumption that Peyton Manning, because of how ridiculously weird looking he is, and because like when he puts his Revo helmet on, it just never quite looked right, and he runs like a weirdo, and because of that, I've always thought his memorabilia has outsold his cards. And so George, having a history of memorabilia, might have a really strong take on this, but I think like Peyton Manning's cards, they're not like visually appealing. There's not sort of like this like rarity aura around them, even though they might have it. And I don't think that's going to return. I mean, like, what a chump right there. What is he doing? And so it's like, I think if Brady was to have a nephew in college football, and Brady was like, and his nephew was like popping off for one of the biggest teams in college football. Of course, we know where Arch is right now and where his market's at right now. I think Brady's cards would have a residual effect on that. I think it's funny to me that Peyton, nobody cares. I don't understand.
That's a really
I don't understand why Peyton Manning never has a market, but he doesn't. And I'm not willing to be the person that's going to convince myself that I'm going to be the first person to push his market forward. That's the market is the way it is for a reason. And we used to talk a lot about how people would be like, oh, this card's undervalued, and so I'm going to buy it. If the hobby undervalues a card, they're probably going to still undervalue it after you buy it. Like Jordan is the classic example. Jordan is always undervalued, and he's never not going to be undervalued. Baker, always undervalued. Statistically, he's doing very, very well. If you put him name on the names that he's with, statistically, he should be way more valued than he is. There's just players that never have the card darling, and I think Peyton's one of those. So I'm staying largely and far away from Peyton. I think Drew Brees is the same way, to be honest. So
those are all very good points. And I mean, I also feel the same way that you feel, and I feel the same way about Drew Brees. So I'm just going to skip to both of those for George. What's your take on Manning and Drew Brees, George?
I'm in the same boat. I actually have Peyton Manning signed memorabilia right behind me. And it's funny, you mentioned LeBron James Upper Deck. If you're buying LeBron James signed, autographed, anything, stick with Upper Deck, Exquisite, those things. Those are, I think, are going to have the best value going up. Nobody likes Peyton Manning, and the funny thing is, like, when he went to college and had his little scandal come out, social media wasn't around, but you would think that like his card prices are reflecting something like that, and that something like that's still relevant. Him and Drew Brees just don't have that market that, demands people wanting to knock on the door and say, hey, let me buy it. There's rumors in the memorabilia market that there's someone that apparently has like $30 million worth of game used Peyton Manning stuff that's all signed by him that they're saying they're going to release eventually. But, that's all just rumors and stuff like that. They're weird buys. They are weird buys, to say the least, unless you're getting like a modern card that's like a stained glass mosaic or a Kaboom or a Downtown. I would say only go after those raw to get graded. So, you got some, upside in it. It's just weird markets for those guys.
Definitely. I like what you said there at the end there too. Like if you are able to win a gradable Peyton Manning or, I don't know, maybe Drew Brees, like super short print, ultra modern super short print, those raw to grade would not be bad plays for sure. Are you ready to start grading your cards? CGC Cards is the perfect place to slab your favorite sports cards. From their crystal clear holders to their affordable pricing, CGC Cards is the perfect stop for your grading needs. Go to cgccards.com to start grading today. And remember that nooffseason.com is the only place on the planet with sports card rankings updated in real time, sorted by the ROI percentage you're likely to make in the future. And of course, when you click on each card in our rankings, it takes you to auctions ending soonest for that card. So to the end of data-driven sports card investing, I want to talk about August 2025 eBay search data. So eBay feeds this to us. I like to talk about it whenever I get it. And we're going to go down the line here. So this is basically, we want to try to be the ones that are holding these people's cards at the point when they lead eBay's searches, increase in search volume is what we're looking for, because ultimately that leads to increase in people adding it to their watch list, increase in offers, increase in bids, and increase in the return that you'll get for that card. So we try to anticipate what selling markers might be coming up for players and then buy them ahead of time. And two superstars were sort of highlighted in Lefty's favorite sport, tennis. Carlos Alcaraz, and he obviously won the entire U.S. Open tournament, got the best of Jannik Sinner. That's his 6th career major already, and he's still super young. So global searches for Carlos Alcaraz increased more than 350% the day he won his 6th major, September 7th, compared to the average day during the week prior. Don't you love that? So from August 31st to September 1st, then on September 7th, it increased 350% before that previous period. And then we had, dang it, Arnya Sabalenka increased more than 250% on the day of her win. She won her 4th major title at the U.S. Open on September 6th. So her search volume went up 250% compared to the week prior. And then Coco Gauff, an old mainstay in our early sports card rankings, Lefty, when Naomi Osaka beat Coco Gauff, searches for Naomi Osaka increased more than 500% compared to the average day during the week prior. So good stuff there from eBay. It's good to see, Lefty, the U.S. Open driving sports card prices. I mean, and I think it's a sport that like now has enough cards where you can get in, and not that it's easily predicted, but I would say it's you're going to predict the U.S. Open champion probably more than in tennis than you're going to predict the U.S. Open or the Masters or the Open champion in golf. I mean, it's going to, because the size of the field might be similar, but I think the actual contenders in the field are fewer. And then I think also when you're trying to predict like the NBA Finals MVP or the Super Bowl, the 2 quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, I would venture to guess that picking the champion of a tennis major from the men's side would be easier to do. And now they have cards. We've talked about their cards before, but this data just validates that we were right to talk about their cards from before. So I'm going to let you talk about tennis from the men's and women's side now that you have this data here. What do you think?
Yeah, the U.S. Open is something that I thought would be a real value gainer for Carlos and for Ben Shelton. Shelton hasn't been a one that you've mentioned in this, but he's a rising American. And so Tiafoe and Shelton and some of the other, I mean, even Coco, and they are going to get the residual rise from the American tournament being relevant. They've done a good job of making the American tournament accessible for the average viewer. A lot of the other majors are behind, a paywall or something like that. It's if you have basic cable, the U.S. Open is on ESPN quite a bit. So I think that's done good for the hobby as well. But I think tennis has a long way to go in terms of marketing themselves well. Like none of the athletes really have, or not many of the athletes have like signature shoe lines or anything like this. I think there's a long way to go for some of these athletes being more marketable in the collectibles space, or even in just the just a space in general where they could market themselves. Somebody with some big wisdom on that needs to go in and sign Carlos Alcaraz to some signature line, because I think that would sell like hotcakes. So
yeah, that's a good point. So switching over to football, because this is something we talk a lot about throughout the year. It's kind of been a staple of ours for several years, is sell your football cards in August. In general, as a blanket statement, sell your football cards in August. Now, does that mean that you should be selling every single football card you own without looking at how much you're into it for and how much it's selling for blindly in August? No, absolutely not. Like that rule does not apply across the board. But every year you have a lot of releases that come out that feature the current rookie class in new pro uniforms. Some of those are print on demand releases that we talk about. Some of those might be pack pulled. There were some autographs that came out of Score this year. There's a big release that may or may not happen in the future that was print on demand is the NFL RPS First Look. Typically does very well. Now, obviously, that will extend into many of the non-top quarterbacks. So unless you're holding a Patrick Mahomes, a Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen, sometimes even to a certain extent, a Joe Burrow or, some of the other guys card, you're typically wanting to liquidate all of your football cards in August. And here's why. I'm going to give you several examples. So when Micah Parsons was traded to the Green Bay Packers on August 28th, compared to the week prior, his search volume for his name on eBay increased more than 840%. So there are a lot of transactions in August, players moving teams. Not always a blockbuster trade in August, but typically a lot of football in the news in August. That's when people care about it the most. During August 25, as we got to the start of the beginning of the NFL season, the rookies that I mentioned with the NFL first look cards. Maybe it's their Bowman Chrome first prospect auto from college. Maybe it's even like your Leafs, your Scores, your lesser desirable releases. You had searches for the following. You had Travion Henderson auto increased more than 560%. Why? Because he's playing in the preseason. Has he played that much in the regular season? No. Emeka Egbuka, who has played well in the regular season, but his searches for his auto were up 480%. Omarion Hampton, more than 300%. Jackson Dart, who's not yet playing. Maybe this week that'll change. Maybe we'll get an announcement as you guys are listening to this show on Apple and Spotify that he takes over as the starter for the Giants. Then I would expect data in September to replicate this data that I'm about to tell you. But searches for Jackson Dart were up more than 270% because he's playing in the preseason. Tetaroa McMillan, more than 270%. The top 5 athletes searched in eBay's collectible category during August were Michael Jordan, Jayden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, Kobe Bryant, and Shohei Ohtani. Man, what a great time that would have been to sell JJ McCarthy, right, Lefty?
I did sell JJ McCarthy at that point, and I'm very, very happy about my big JJ McCarthy sales because they've parlayed into some LeBron movement. So how about that?
Love that. George, okay, final question for you on today's episode. And by the way, thank you to you for not only your support, being so complimentary of nooffseason.com and our show, but thank you for doing a great job today, man. You've absolutely killed it. So well done, my man. I know we're going to get a lot of good feedback on having you on the show. Question for you, Kobe Bryant. I just mentioned his name. He's not a guy that we've talked about yet, but I got to believe he falls into one of the categories that we've talked about today. Tell us what you're doing with any of Kobe Bryant. And then if you want to talk about Shohei as well, because that's the first time we've mentioned him, feel free. But I mean, not surprised that those guys are in the top 5 most searched athletes on eBay. What about you?
I love both those athletes. I'm based out in LA. Actually, my house, I used to live in Calabasas. I could see from my backyard where Kobe Bryant's helicopter crashed. So like I love Kobe Bryant. Now I didn't see it crash. I was not living at that house at that time. And I've moved from that house. But okay, where we're at now. I love Kobe Bryant. I think he is very unique. He is always going to constantly go up right now. There's nothing that's really going to have him go down. He's got an incredible PR team still, which I love. The Lakers want him to always be their idol to look forward to. They carried him across when he had a scandal before. They're going to make sure to do it if something ever comes out again about him. So I love it. Once again, he's one of those guys that focus on the buy side, making your profit on the buy side right now. And Shohei, I mean, that guy is the darling of darlings for the hobby. The guy can do no wrong. And I'm pretty sure if he started selling bathwater, people in the hobby would start, breaking it and showing it on Whatnot streams. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, this guy is great. I love both of them. I think Shohei's almost one of those weird guys where you don't have to focus on making money on the buy side right now, as long as you're making sure to buy him at the right times. I think he's going to win another 4 or 5 MVPs before it's all said and done. But one thing that Lefty said earlier that I think people need to realize, Mike Trout and Aaron Judge, they're almost the same age. A lot of people still also think Shohei is young. He wasted away a lot of career with the Angels. And then he also spent years in Japan's league. He is older than what you think as well. So those are just things to take into account. But yeah, I love them both. I think they're both good. Kobe, focus on making your money on the buy side a little bit, but no, you're always going to go up almost every year. And Shohei, just, keep watching him hit those markers every day.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, he's been continuously going up. And just to kind of break down what you said, when you buy him in November and December, and probably more so December now, because he's likely with the Dodgers to be in the hunt to go far into the playoffs most seasons. Obviously that could change, but the farther he plays into the season, I would extend when the right time is to buy him into December. Like, December should be Shohei Ohtani month for everybody listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show. Buying him in December is going to, and maybe some other pockets throughout the year. That might not be the only month, but historically he gets hot in July, August, a little bit into September. From a baseball standpoint is when his numbers really start to rise. And so the searches for him go up, his card prices go up. But he keeps going up. So to George's point, it's like, don't necessarily worry about getting a good deal on his cards. It just might not be best to buy in after he does something spectacular on the field. Lefty, do you have anything else to add for today's show? I'm going to give you the last word, but first, so I can actually give you the last word, we do have to give some love to our live chat. We have George, Jeremy, and Ryan who have chimed in to say what a great job we're doing and how much we've helped them out. So we appreciate that, guys, from our live chat. Lefty, what do you have to add before I hit him with the outro?
You guys convinced me, and I put the Messi card on auction, not on Buy It Now. So the Messi card is on auction. It will be sold in the next 7 days, most likely. Pretty nervous about that. Kind of want to just crawl in a hole for the next 7 days.
What's your starting bid?
2,000.
All right. So you took, okay, and the most recent comp again was what?
45.
Okay.
100.
So and because so again, everybody
880. Yeah.
Man, if someone takes it for 2, that ain't even bad.
I know. That's what I said. So it's just like, okay, we'll see.
There you go, everybody. I mean, that's why I wanted everybody to hear, because we get that question a lot on the premium pot. So Lefty's point, it's like, and to George's point too, I mean, one bid on that thing and Lefty 2x'd it, which is awesome. Everybody, thanks so much for joining us. Props again to George Crespbow, doing a great job in the hobby. Appreciate all of his support. If you want to host a show with Lefty and I, stay tuned for more details on that at nooffseason.com. Lefty, great job today. We're going to get some more of these live shows back in the hopper coming soon for everybody. Thanks again. Have a good one. Thanks so much for being here with us on the Sports Card Strategy Show. If you enjoyed the content on today's show, there's plenty more waiting for you at nooffseason.com. Just go to nooffseason.com right now. You get our formula-based sports card rankings, sports card school, inventory tracker, the ability to grade with us, and the premium podcast where we answer an unlimited amount of your questions. Check it out right now at nooffseason.com. For everyone at nooffseason.com, I'm Paul Hickey. Thanks again for being here with us on the Sports Card Strategy Show. We'll see you again soon. Have a great day.